Alright, so now I want us to go together over the general options that each visualization has. It will change a bit between the type of the graph, the type of the visualization, but the general concept of each tab is the same. So I will go with the grid. This is a regular table and we will check the options from there. In the next video we will start to do specific examples and to build visualizations with formatting and everything, and then we will experience that. But now I want to do an overview and explain each of the tabs. So the first tab we have here after we are inserting a new visual is the binding. The general concept here is to organize and to define the table. We have to choose our columns, to choose our measures, decide regarding aggregations. We can do sorting. So let's examine that. I will click on the add column, and then to the right I will have a list of the columns, of my columns. I can choose which column I want to take to the table, and I can also search for a specific column. So let's take first the net sales. Let's add another column, which will be the city. And we can switch here and it will switch the order in the table. So city, net sales, and let's take also the sales amount. Alright, so as you can see, we created here a table with the columns we just chose. And now we can define for each column if we want it to be a dimension, which means a column we are not measuring, we are not doing aggregation on that column, like the city, which is also dimension by default. As you can see, it recognized it. On the other hand, you can see, for example, the sales amount by default got a measure, and this means it also applies an aggregation on that column. And you can see that also on the column we have on brackets it written sum. And if we will go a bit down, we will also see that the default measure was sum, but we can also change it. We can do count distinct, minimum, maximum, average, and more. By the way, we can also decide that we want that the city will be a measure, so we won't be able to do a lot of calculation on that, but we can decide to count it, for example. So if we will change it to measure, we can apply a count on the city. In contrast to the sales amount, let's look on the net sales. It didn't get by default and automatically the measure. It got a dimension. So we would expect that the net sales would be also a measure. And because it didn't get measure, you can see it didn't apply any aggregation on that column, which means that for each city now we can see a lot of transactions for the net sales, because there is a lot of orders, and for each order we have the net sale. So for each city we can see a lot of orders. But if we will change the type of the net sales to be a measure, it will get also an aggregation function, and then we will see for each city just one row, because the net sale and the sales amount would be aggregated as sum or as other aggregation function we will decide on. Let's look on that. If I go back to the binding and I clicking on the sales, net sales, so I can choose also the sigma, the measure, and then you will see that it gets also an aggregation. You will see that for each city we have now just one row. Back to the binding, we can see we have here two more options. We have hidden dimensions and hidden measures. That means that we can also add here columns or aggregated columns that won't be shown in the table, but they will still be in the report. Why do we have to do that? If we will want to connect that columns to another reports or to do filter on them and things like this, we'll see an example in a moment. Another thing we have to see in the binding is if we are clicking on the specific column, we already saw that if we want to change the type of that column, we have to click on that and then we can choose the measure or a dimension and the type. But if we will go down, we will see that we have some more options. And the idea here in general is that when I go from the binding to the specific column, I have configurations that applies to this specific column or that related to this specific column. Like this, you can remember what you can find there. For example, the data shaping, this will be the sort order. So the sort order now is alphabetical by the city. I can do it ascending or descending. And as you can see, the sort value is the value itself of the city, but I can change it. I can do that the sales amount sum will be the one who will define the sort. Let's do that. So now we can see that the order is by the sales amount ascending. So this I'm doing from the binding and from the specific column in the data shaping. So another thing we can do, let's go for the net sales, for example. As you can see, it's also different options between each column because the types, dimension or measure, are different. So let's go to the net sales, for example, and let's check the totals option. So in the total option, we can add at the bottom of the column some total calculations. So if I will do plus here, we can add, for example, count or mean, max, sum. Let's do the sum. So then we will have here the total sum of this column. We can do more than one. If I will do plus, I can do also count, and I can switch the order by using the arrows. So this is another option, still in the binding, still the organizing and defining the table. We can do also conditional formatting. We will see it afterwards in examples, but the idea here is that we can define the format of a row or specific field if it meets certain conditions that we are defining. For example, we want that the sales amount will be red if it's above 50. I can do filter for specific column. We'll see that in a second. I will talk about this when we'll go into the filter tab, and some more format. So this is the overview of the first tab, the binding. Let's look now on the second, the filter. So in this tab we can add a filter to this specific report. We already saw how a filter can be added to all of the dashboard. Here in this filter we can add a filter specifically to this report, to this visualization. So I will do add condition, and then let's say that we want that the city will be just Austin, for example. So we will click OK, and then we will see just Austin in this table, in this report. We also have here a more advanced option. I won't get into it, I will just explain that really briefly. As you can see, the filter we just applied is inside the item filter. We have here also an option to do a visible data filter. So we have here actually two types. The item filter will filter all my data from this report, and the visible data filter will just filter what is visible. So imagine that the report will hold all the data, but we will see just the rows that match to the visible data filter. And why we will want to do that? If we want that the rest of the data will affect things or will connect to other reports. So we can do just the visible data filter. So this will affect just on what we see, and the item filter is affect on what the table actually holds. I don't want to get more into it now. So this is a general idea. This is a bit more complex, a bit more advanced subject. So we saw already how to filter on all the dashboard. We saw how to apply filter on specific report, and now I want us to see how we can apply a filter on specific column. For this we will go to the binding area and click on the specific column we want. Before that we will add, for our example, another column of sales amount, the same column. One of them will be with filter and the second will be without filter, and then you will understand better the differences. Add column, and I will take the sales amount again. Alright. And let's also, in the options, I can define a name to that column. So this will be sales amount, but for example, just for bikes category, and we'll see in a second how we can do that. And the second sales amount will be sales amount. Sales amount. The sales amount is a general one, and in the bikes, I can add a filter that will apply just on this column. So in order to apply specific filter, I want that it will be just to the bikes category. I have to add here the column of the category if I want to apply here the bikes filter. So I will go to the binding, I will add column, but I want to add this to hidden dimension because I don't want it to be seen in the table. I just want it to be there in order to apply filter. So I will go to hidden dimension, I will add a dimension, and I will choose the category, English product category name. Perfect. So now it's in the hidden dimension. And then I will go to the bikes. Now not from this filter, but from the specific column. In the binding tab, I will go to the filter option and I will click the edit and I will add here a condition. And I will say that the English product category name should be bikes. And this will filter just on this column. So now this column is showing us just the sum of the sales of the bikes. So in that way we applied a filter on a specific column. We talked about the bindings, we talked about the filters. Let's delete the filter here and let's also delete the column of the bikes. And now let's talk about the interactivity option. Alright, so the interactivity option is the option to make one report affecting other reports in the dashboard. So for that, let's take another table. And you can also see that in the canvas we can also change the sizes, we can change the location, we can put it one beside each other and so on. And let's go to the binding of that table. Let's take from this table just the column of the category. So English product category name, I will just take this in that table. And let's do it a bit thinner. Alright, so I want to show you the interactivity. So I can decide if this table will be a master filter to other tables. What this means? This means by default it's none, but if I click on the single, for example, now when I will click on the bikes, you can see that the other table filtered according to what I clicked. So if I clicking on bikes, so here now I see just the bikes category. If I clicking on the clothing, it will show just the clothing. You can see that the totals are also changing according to the filter from the other report. I can also do it a multiple and not single, and if I do it multiple, I can click here on the multi-select, then I can choose a couple of them. If you go to here to the top, you can see the filters, and then you can see that we have a couple of filters, accessories plus bikes. And if I want to clear it, I can go here to the top and click on the cancel filters. So this is the master filter mode. Now I want to show you another thing. If I go to the interactivity and I have a specific report that I don't want it to be affected by master filters, by other reports that are filtering, that are slicers. So I can go to the ignore master filters and I can do on. Now this report won't be affected from other master filters. So let's try that again. So now if I will click on the bikes, nothing will happen. Also if I will clear it. So now nothing is happening in this it's ignore master filters on. The cross data source filtering is relating to cases that we have in the same dashboard, couple of models, couple of data sources. Now this is not the case, I won't go into it now, but you can also define that kind of links between two data sources. Let's look also on the drill down. For the drill down, I want to bring here also country. So I will go back to the binding and I will add column, I will add the country. I will add the country, let's put the country at the top. The order of the columns here is also affecting the drill down. So for now I see Australia and all the cities inside Australia and then the sum. If I go to the interactivity and I will do on the drill down, first I will see the calculation just in the level of the country. Now if I will click on specific country, let's say Canada, so it will drill down inside Canada to the next level, to the city, and I will see the calculations regarding the cities in Canada. I can see also here at the top that we are inside Canada, and if I want to go back up, I have to the right drill up. And I can click on other, and then I will drill down inside the Australia cities. So this is the option of drill down in the interactivity. And if I will do off, I will just see all the table. And remember that the order here is affecting the drill down. So this is for the interactivity. The options tab is more for formatting, for designing the formatting of the visualization. We can define here a lot of things in the layout, how we want that the table will look like. We can choose colors, we can choose a lot of things like this. And it's depending the visual. If we would have here a chart, for example, so we would have options for the x-axis or the y-axis. Let's take an example. So first here I have the show caption. This is the name, the title that I see here to the left. I can decide not to show it, and I can decide to show it and to change it to another name. Okay, so now we'll see another name. Let's see another example. I can take the layout and then horizontal lines. I want to see it or not. If I will do off, so I will not see the horizontal lines, for example. So on the options, it's a lot of options regarding the formatting and how the visualization will look like. We will go more into it when we will start to build reports for the dashboard in the next videos. Then we will also see different kinds of charts and the formatting will be a bit different for each of them. So we'll go more into it in next videos. I have here another option, convert to. The convert to first enable me to duplicate. Okay, so first I duplicated it, and then I can also change the visualization to another visualization. Let's say I want to see that in chart, so I will click on the chart and it will make it as chart. So this is for the convert to. And the last option is just to remove the chart. So this was a general overview of the tabs of a specific report. I remind you that each visualization will have a bit different options inside the specific option, but this is the concept of each of these tabs. This is it for that video.